Welcome back to Disrupting the Algorithm, a monthly check-in with our Disruptors Network where we talk to alumni, past mentors, instructors, actors, directors, and anyone who has been part of our Disruptors family. My name is Julio Salgado, and I am the co-creator of the Disruptors Fellowship, a program from the Center for Cultural Power. For today's Disrupting the Algorithm guest, we have a Disruptor alumni, our second Disruptor alumni, who we are proud of. Nerris Nassiri, aka Nair.
Hey, Julio.
Hello, hello, Nerris.
Buenos días.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. Before I get into it, I want to give you your flowers, Nerys, and kind of talk a little bit about yourself. I'm gonna share your bio. Let's be more precise. ESL sometimes kicks in this early in the morning. So Nerys is a first-gen LA-based writer, director, and creative professional. He is on a mission to tell original music stories with the heart of a film and the hook of a song for the widest possible audience. A graduate of the UCLA School of Film and Television, he has written numerous screenplays, stage plays, and musicals. More recently, Nerris wrote Te Olvides, an intergenerational story that follows three generations of Mexican American women on a journey that sparks healing, humor, and unexpected romance. The musical film will star Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness star Xochitl Gomez and Latin Grammy-nominated Rebelde for the real ones, star Maite Perroni. Nerris, welcome to Disrupting the Algorithm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always so awkward hearing people talk about myself, but I'm gonna accept it because it's still morning.
Listen, you have to, we're in a moment in time where history's been rewritten, and so we gotta make
That's
sure
true.
and stand in our flowers, that not stand on the flowers but receive the flowers, don't stand on flowers, and be proud of the work that you have been doing. So thank you so much, Nerys, for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so early in the morning. We usually record early in the morning just because I feel like that's when our guests are fresh. They hopefully haven't, doom scroll and they are, fresh to talk. So, Nerys, I usually start off every Disrupting the Algorithm by asking our guests what is a piece of art that they are consuming
Mhm.
right now. But since you are a musical guy, I thought I would switch the question a little bit for you and ask you, what is a musical? And it could be a movie, maybe a musical that hasn't made into a movie, it's
Mhm.
just, still in Broadway, whatever kind of musical
Mhm.
that inspires you to this day, and why?
Um, my answer is Waitress. I love
Mm.
Waitress. It is my favorite. And it came out the year of Hamilton, and my very very hot take, and people are going to come for me for this, is that Waitress should have won the Tony, and they should have just been like, Hamilton, here you go, like, you win by default everything, and now the musicals of the everyday people are now going to have their flowers and everything. So Waitress, I think, is just a really lovely, relatable, heartfelt story, and I love Sarah Bareilles' songs in it. And it's a really good example of getting you on board with the protagonist, because you are literally rooting for a woman to have an affair with her gynecologist. And I think it's hard to do that and get like your audience on board with this. And they do it just like with so much tenderness and grace, and everyone has their own little mini arcs, and I think it's kind of a masterclass in storytelling and writing a good protagonist.
Nice. I have not seen it, but whenever you can, see a musical or movie, whatever, like, and fall in love with other characters, that's just the starring character. It's like
Yeah.
that is a program that I want to see. That is a
Yeah.
film that I want to see. So I love that. For me personally,
Mm.
I like musicals were, I don't know, as a gay man, I feel like, all the gays love the musicals. I was never, like a super musical fan. However, when I was in high school, and I mentioned this in the last episode because our last guest was also a musical person. when I was in high school, it was Fame, and I even tried out for a role in the musical. But after high school, I was in touch with my art teachers, and
Mhm.
I ended up working in a production of Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh,
Uh,
that's fun.
yeah, and this was like my first experience with
Mhm.
like professional actors here in Long Beach, who really took this serious, right? When you're in high school, it's like fun and everything, but like that was my first time seeing, people who like they were like serious about the work. Not that high school students are not serious about their work, but I don't know. There was something about like, oh, and they're also getting paid. I don't know how much they were getting paid, but being part and seeing that like really, I was only like 18 years old, and
Yeah,
seeing other working artists, truly inspire me. So Little Shop of Horrors to
that's
this
so
day.
cool.
Yeah, I've never actually seen it, in Broadway. I was recently in New York and I really want to check it out, but I didn't have time. But I really want to see it again in the stage. But
It's a classic. It's a
it is a
classic. It's just
classic.
such a fun one. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And the
it's
movie's also really fun and campy if you ever have like a horror night with your friends it's just a good time.
it's amazing. So Little Shop of Horrors, shout out, and Waitress. That's watch it today. If you're watching this, if you want to see something, those two. Okay, so Nerris, you were part of the 2022 Disruptors program. Jesus, feels like a long time ago. And it kind of is, but in this times, like, I don't know, time just goes by
I,
really quick.
I, I don't know. I think whatever is happening in our brains that processes times, it's just gone out the window down 3 floors. I don't know anymore.
I blame it on the pandy, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It also I don't know. Maybe getting older, it just feels that time just goes fast. I don't know, faster or something. But
Yeah.
can you tell us about your experience with the program? What how did you hear about it? And yeah, just want to
I
hear.
Yeah, I was kind of like a baby writer still, and I didn't know really what I was doing, and I went on someone's website, I think it was Lori Donahue or something, and I was like just, finding fellowships to apply to and everything, and I saw one that was like for folks who are disabled and who are people of color, and I was like that's really specific, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole, and I was like and it was like 2 days before the application was due or something. So I like threw on my laptop and made my video and everything. And by the grace of Julio, I got in. And yeah, it was just I had no idea what the hell I was getting into, and I had never written a pilot before. And so it was like boot camp, and it was like I went to 4 years of film school, and Disruptors taught me like like
Wow.
like all that shit, like, but way more and then some. And I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have given UCLA all my money, but it's okay.
No, listen, I think that, for us, we, a lot of people ask like, oh, do I have to have gone to film school or have experience? For the perm is like, well, as long as you're taking this serious and
Yeah.
actually have samples to show, like, I personally didn't go to art school or have any professional training, but I think a storyteller is going to tell a story whether or not you go to school, right? And for the Disruptors, it's this sort of, I always call it kind of like a pit stop in this race of
Mm.
entertainment where we want you to stop and refuel, and get some resources and connect with folks, especially as the industry, it's changing
Doing
and
a thing.
it's doing a thing, it's doing something. And it wasn't just by the grace of me, but just want to note that I sort of do kind of filter some of the applications, make sure that everybody puts in their samples and everything. But
Sure.
we do
Sure.
have a panel of folks who decide, who and clearly your application and that of all the other folks, really made an impression. But one of my favorite things during the program every year that I do is like this one-on-ones that I always did with you all. And something that I always ask our fellows was, what can we do better as a program? For us is very much about, if we're gonna service artists, we need to ask them how can we can do better. I want to go back to that question today, to you, Nerris,
You're
and
gonna
get
make me criticize my favorite fellowship on the air?
listen.
It's
I think if you're in service of someone, you have to ask the people that you're servicing, like, how can I do better, right? It's not about criticizing; it's about taking notes and seeing how we can do better, right? And so I want to ask you, how can a program like ours, and not just us. So I'll
Mhm.
take away the pressure, but like any program that is serving artists, what can they do better right now as we're seeing kind of Hollywood shift? And I'm taking notes because we want to definitely shift some things around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I and it's funny because I like once a year I feel like there's like a disruptors survey, and I'll always say the same thing of like I if I had to pick one thing, it's that I felt like my the program was like your Thea who just like keeps giving you more and more like delicious food. But the Thea was like almost too nice, and I kind of wanted a little bit of like the all right, now you need to get the fuck to work, mijo.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, but like, and I almost wanted like a little bit more booty kicking and a little bit more like, all right, get this like you're gonna be getting a lot of really really high level people watching this, and like so this pilot needs to be. I kind of wanted like a little more butt kicking, if that makes sense.
More pressure,
Yeah, more
more real
pressure
life
to like
experience.
really be
Yeah.
excellent at what you do. Um, so yeah, I think that was the only thing. But then y'all gave me such excellent mentors to then go forth and do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard when you're kind of like overwhelmed with the like fellowship because there's so much like a lot of fellowships it's like oh, okay, this is like a whatever, but with disruptors it's like and then you're going to do this and you're going to meet these nine Emmy winning people and you're going to have interviews and then this and then I forgot that I had mentors and I felt so bad about that and they were amazing mentors and I'm like I should have taken better advantage of this because I don't know what the hell I'm doing because no one taught me how to write a pilot. So so that's the only thing is that don't be so nice to us all the time about our work.
And I gotta say, Nerys, I do because you were part of the early, the one
Yeah,
of the early classes,
sure.
2022. And I do remember that feedback that you gave us because it wasn't just you. There was like I remember in the
Mm,
first one, like, hey, like you guys are great, but we could use more because in the real world, when you are put in a writer's room, they don't ask you, are you okay with this timeline? Like you are just giving a
yeah,
deadline. And so
yeah.
we actually started practicing. So probably the people from the last two cohorts can tell you a little more about like, oh, the deadlines were strict. Like we were like,
Nice.
you need the first
Put
draft by
them to
the first.
work,
So
Julio. You gave
I
us
definitely
money. Like fellowships don't
exactly.
do that. Make us work for the money.
Yes, yeah. So definitely, like I think
I love
and
that.
that's something that we also have been telling even our instructors and mentors, right? Like there's this idea because a lot of us as people of color and the way that Hollywood, the industry has treated people of color,
Yeah,
we really want to make sure that we are treated with respect, right? But at the same
sure.
time, like, don't sugarcoat things, right? Don't tell us that,
Yeah,
oh, we're talented, because then it feels more like you're not learning anything. So definitely taking that to heart and asking people. There are ways to give feedback that is
that
that you
doesn't
can
hurt.
learn that doesn't hurt. And I think that's what Hollywood needs. I think maybe
Yeah,
more than anything, like a little attitude adjustment, and like really, how is this feedback going to make the person a better writer, right?
for
And so
sure.
I think yeah, so we're trying, and definitely
I love it.
we want to put folks ready, in a real life situation. So
Mm,
now going, back to sort of your love for musicals, and
mm.
just your love for storytelling, right? Why is writing your favorite medium to tell a story? What is it about writing? Because it's hard. Writing is hard.
Writing's a pain in the behind. I hate
Yeah.
writing. I always say I hate writing, and people are like, "What?" It's like, yeah, I hate writing. It's awful. I think I love storytelling because storytelling is so intrinsic to like our biology. Like
Yeah.
we grew up like as from our caveman cavewoman era of like stories were survival and I love writing because you are basically forcing someone to empathize with someone outside of their own like fleshy silly little brain that we have here. And I think the world will always need a little bit more empathy, and writing allows you to swim in the body of another beautiful flawed character that you get to fall in love with, but also then get to invite others to kind of just see a slightly different perspective through that lens. That's why I love writing so much. I think it's what the world needs more of. I think we all should be writers.
That was beautifully tell. You should be a writer. You should write.
Crazy. Crazy.
Beautiful. Now, is there, I mentioned earlier, I still want to ask you the question that I usually ask people, but, I wanted to try the musical thing. But what are some current shows or movies or even digital creators that are making
Mhm.
you excited about this current version of our industry? And our current version of the industry could be like, there's streamers and, all that other stuff. But yeah, what is something that you're looking at and that you're like, oh, okay, I think I'm gonna stick with the industry. I'm gonna still tell my stories via this medium.
Yeah, I'm actually really bad about shows these days. So I'm mostly on YouTube, which is kind of lame, I guess, but there's this program called The Moth, and The Moth is this really cool story slam program where you go to these events. They have them in LA, they have them all over the world, where you go to these events and you just drop your name in a hat and you tell a story for 5 minutes around a theme. And it's really interesting because it's like it's not exactly answering your question, but The Moth has made me really excited about storytelling
Yeah.
because it has reminded us that like in this world of like big dazzling $300 million productions, sometimes a mic and your body and 5 minutes are all you really need. And every time I go, there's always a story that makes people crack up laughing. And every time I go, there's it's like I did a story a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, just before 9 months ago. It was just before the fires, and I told a 5 minute story just kind of on a whim about like my dad and reconciling with him after 10 years of estrangement and everything, and like after it was 5 minutes, and then after that I had like nine people come up to me and be like, one father was like, I'm clean now, how do I tell my son? And it was like really powerful stuff, and it was like this came from 5 minutes of a state on a stage, and I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a script. And so the Moth, I think, is just such a beautiful way to really just one-on-one connection, you and a crowd. And in a weird way, that has made me really, really, really motivated to keep going and to keep writing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, I mean, going back to musicals, I think musicals is going to be your through line. I don't want to
Of course.
pigeonhole you, but I mean, the thing with musicals and like live theater, right, is that connection. You get an immediate reaction from
Yeah.
people. I am not. Again, growing up, I was like, oh, I think I can do a theater, but I do a lot of like lectures and talking to students and the
Same concept.
reaction. Yeah, like
Yeah.
right, you get to practice this story. I don't know how much you practice to tell your 5 minute story. I do still think that you have to prepare yourself to tell a
Obsessively
story,
is the
right? You
answer.
can't just
Yeah.
go up and like, oh, I'll make something up because I'll freeze. I recently just emceed an event at the Fort, shout out Cumbiaton, and I needed a script, right? Like, and then you prepare yourself. You got to prepare, but that immediate reaction from people,
Yeah.
then you can take it to whether writing, and then like kind of fix the things that it's like an immediate editing that you get from folks, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. How much did you prepare for your 5 minutes?
For that story, I prepared about probably 3 hours. And that's low, actually, as weird as that sounds. But it was a lot of like timing it, doing this, practicing obsessive levels of just like 5 minutes is all I have. So am I constantly being fun and everything? Yeah.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing like you can. The other side of the coin is like you can prepare and prepare and prepare and then tank and then But if you're good at improvising, that's a moment to be like, okay, let me shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we recently read on Deadline earlier this year that you wrote a whole ass musical, which will be starring, like I mentioned at the top of the hour, a Marvel Studios star and a member of one of the biggest pop groups in Latin America. Can you please tell us how the story of how that happened of your musical, and from idea to actually, casting? I'm just curious how does that work, for the folks watching at home?
Yeah, this has been a 4-year process so
Wow.
far, and we probably still have four more to go,
Hmm.
because everything moves so slow in this industry and everything's uncommon, and takes forever. So No Te Olvides was an idea that came to me when I just started writing, and I was kind of like hyper fixated on my very first screenplay, and I kept trying to make it better and better and better. And at one point, I just kind of had to realize I'm never going to get better at this thing, at this craft overall, if I don't write number two.
Hmm.
So then I wrote number two, and it was like and I kept getting feedback like this really feels like a stage project, like there's something musical to it. And so then I applied to a theater lab in New York, and I developed a pass with them, and they were like, there's something just like really cinematic about this. And I was like, okay, I'm having an identity crisis. So I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I was like, is there a Save the Cat for movie musicals? And there is not. So I kind of just had to learn by just like mimicking and making like sort of like, okay, how does Sondheim do this? How did Waitress do this? And like literally like breaking down like, okay, this I noticed that like at the fourth song it's usually something like this and stuff like that. And so I kind of just like I wouldn't say I stole it, but I kind of stole some shit just like on how people structure things because you have to.
Hmm.
Shout out to Steal Like an Artist, great book.
Have it right here.
And so then I did a new outline of the whole thing, and I wrote the story, and through the story I naturally did some song spotting. Went to a draft, and it was one of those like I kind of said I'm going to start the whole thing over. And it was one of those things like it flew out of me in like a week. So I wrote the whole thing, and like I was at my guitar, and I probably did all the songs and the script like in 3 or 4 weeks, its first iteration. Put that on the blacklist to get some like feedback from it. Got their like famous 8 score, which if you get the 8, they like blast you off. And I was like, oh shit. And so then I went to La Lista podcast mixer, got on their mailing list, and at the same time this guy named Anthony Estrada, he was putting out a call for like under $2 million Latinx family music or family stories, bonus points if they have a musical element. And I was like, girl, I got like and so the rest was so we did like a year of development. At that point I had won the fellowship with the blacklist. I had started Disruptors at the same time, and then Tony had started saying like, hey, I have a connection, a little bit of a Hail Mary to Maite Perroni. And I was like being like, that's so cool. And it was like the first actress that I've like worked with that my mom knew about. So she was like, Maite Perroni. And I was like, okay, cool. I have to really, yeah. I was like, if mom approves, then I really have to put some work into this. So so I did a full rewrite again, because writing is rewriting of doing a version that basically would and I needed to do that version anyway of like increasing the role of the mom and everything. So we got her on board, and then from there a casting director came on board, and they said, have you thought of Xochitl Gomez? And I was like, I wrote the main character for her. Are you kidding me? Of course. So literally like did a lot of work on the script again, wrote a letter to her, and within like 48 hours she said yes, and she was in, and it was really, really cool. And now we're off to trying to get financing, and even that's still a struggle, but here we are. I'm trying to celebrate the wins.
No, yeah, exactly right. And like I don't know, sometimes the stars just align, right? And I think when people try to ask like, well, how do I do this, right? Like I think the journey looks different for different people, and for you, and again, the importance of having this kinds of programs, right? You never know who you're going to connect. Now, I am very dense when it comes to musicals, and so, but you've kind of allude that like the story came first and then the music. Is that how that works? Like how to,
yeah, and like there's
tell me
no
the structure of a musical, right?
There's no rules. Like there's one sort of book called The History of the American Musical, like that's loosely a Save the Cat, but there's no rules. Like it's just the only difference is for me. And again, I did 32 musicals, like performed in when I was in high school and college. So like this is like my bloodline. Like, so I kind of like my education was just watching a shit ton of musicals, and like watching bootlegs on YouTube, slime tutorials, and like pausing them and being like, okay, what's happening at 15 minutes? Okay, why is this happening at 25 minutes? And just like obsessively studying and getting really, really obsessed with the craft. And so for No Te Olvides specifically, that came in the outline phase, and it was just, oh, they're going to do this. And then on this scene, oh, so then they're going to sing about this, and that's going to, and then that whole song and dance. So for me, it's always at the outline level that I'll do the songs and the story. And so it's very much like they feed into each other. And
Yeah.
like sometimes I'll be, oh, I should do this song. Oh, but then that's going to flip. And so now I need to change this song over here so that we have a little, Pixar symmetry or whatever. Yeah, it's all just kind of back and forth.
Listen, like making art, and it's not about stealing again, shout out to the book, but you really have to study the craft. Like, what are your favorites reading or listening to when they get stuck, right? Like nothing comes out of, we do take like I'm literally I've been working on this graphic memoir for a long time.
Oh, so
But
cool.
I'm reading, yeah, thank you. I'm reading Fun Home, like I read
Yep.
Persepolis, like you really have to see what's out there, and yeah, there is the fear that reading or seeing something else is going to, I don't know, like you're going to copy it, but you can't get better without watching other stuff. When young
Yeah.
people ask me, I want to be an artist, and I ask them, show me what you're making, show me the thing, right? You have to be ready to be part of Disruptors. You have to be ready to show us samples that this is not something that you're like, this is a hobby for you, but this is something that you eat, breathe, and like obsess over.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's,
It
I
is
don't know.
it is one of the most competitive industries in the world. So like you can't hobby your way into it.
No, and you have to, and it's really, I mean, it is a strange, being an artist. It's my husband constantly he wonders, like he's like, because a lot of my work I take from my personal life and
Mhm.
put it out there. I'm like, there has to be some sort of like ego in you saying that my life is important enough to be documented.
Oh, 1000%. We're Delulu, all of us.
How much of this project did you take from, your like, because it talks about like I love the themes in No Te Olvides, like about, your roots and like I can't believe that Maite is going to be playing a mom, but that just ages me because I'm like, wait, actresses that I came up with, when I was young, they're playing moms, but
Young mom,
whatever.
very young
Yeah,
mom.
young
If Maite
mom.
is very the youngest mom you've
The
ever
youngest
met.
mom, yeah. But like, how much of the project you take from things from your life, or
Like a lot of it. So this project is really kind of personal to me because I always so it's about my family's patria called La Noria, and I always wanted to go to La Noria with my abuela, but she passed before she could ever take me. I was like 10 years old. So a lot of ways it's like it's what I think that trip might have been like. But and so in a lot of ways it's that. In a lot of ways it's my own family that I kind of put into it, but it's not like one to one because when you start to grow and have like incredible team members such as Xochitl, such as Maite, such as Tony and everyone else, and my director Kimberly, who's incredible. Like it's when you have a family story, there's a tendency for people to want to put themselves into that story, and it is through people putting themselves into that story that then that lets it get out of my own like, oh, and this happened to me, but it's like, okay, this is a Kimberly thing that she put in. So I would say it's like an amalgamation of like nine autobiographies, in which case I hope it then becomes 9,009,000,000 autobiographies that we can all kind of see ourselves in because like so many of the like scene elements and dialogue elements are just like, oh yeah, like my co-producer said that her tia did this, and so now we're bringing that into this. So like just it's there's a lot of real life into it that we put, and I think that's what makes that such an authentic piece of
yeah.
fiction, ironically.
Yeah, love, love, love. Now moving, kind of going back to kind of the state of the industry. The way we watch TV and films has
Mhm.
completely changed. We used to have to wait a week to see our favorite show, wait a long line to see the premiere of a movie. Now we carry them in our hands, on our
Yeah.
phones. With streamers changing Hollywood and the industry still seeing the results of the strikes, what do you tell young and old new creatives who want to tell stories? Like what kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, for young creatives, my fellow, I'm still a young creative,
We're still babies.
in my heart. I think we need to kind of think about how different like screens and digital mediums are trying to like claim our attention.
Mhm.
Like there have been calls out like where Netflix says we want second screen content, which means we want content that that people can watch while they're scrolling on their phone. And I'm like, I did not spend a lot of my life savings growing up going to film school so that someone could like listen to my thing while they're on their phone. So I think just like paying attention to how you pay attention is really, really important this day and age. And like knowing that like these algorithms are like made by these evil corporate billionaires who have learned how to hijack the biology of your mind. And so like I think we need to reclaim that shit a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to put that into our content where we are being more cognizant and like writing stuff that is more engaging so that you're not so that it makes you be like, oh fuck, what happened, let me, like that kind of thing, and learning to be more engaging. And I would say that goes for older creatives too. I go to a lot of comedy shows and I feel like I see a lot of older comedians, and like it's like the same three jokes of like wife dumb, can't make jokes anymore because of the wokes, and my pronouns are ha ha or whatever. Like we get it, like, but just know that like the stuff that you're complaining about us, your older generation complained about you. So like instead of poking from above, like why don't you engage with the young people content too? Like we get it. You're superior and every generation before you, we get it. But like level with us a little bit too, and don't be above, what the young kids are watching.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's how has the writing process changed when writing longer content for like does it change your process, the process that you're when you're writing, thinking about the way that people are viewing things, like
Yeah, I try to put a lot more surprises all the time.
Mhm.
Like I kind of have like a little like in my head, like there has to be some kind of surprise or some kind of like funny thing either in every scene, like in the dialogue, or like there has to be like some kind of like plot thing that's like, oh fuck, I didn't see that coming. Like, and that kind of is just like good screenwriting in general. But like now I'm really being more cognizant of it, where like I know that like my blacklist reader, whoever reader is gonna like, if their phone buzzes, I want to write something that's like so consistently engaging and flying through the pages that they're like, I'll get that later, instead of like being like, oh, So just making things constantly more engaging and surprising, I think, is how we can kind of fight that.
Is that exhausting or is it like fun to
100%.
is
Yeah.
it so it's not like fun to try
It's fun
a new
because
approach?
it's fun because so like I have gotten so obsessed with outlining, but a lot of the times like I need to kind of just like get out of my head of like this and like walk around in circles and like channel like my Groundlings improv days and like be like, okay, what are 5 things that my character would like never say, and let's have them say that. And sometimes it's such a good idea that it completely fucks my outline, but it's like I have to go with this because like when I don't get the creative inspirations a lot, but all the time it's from there, and then it annoys the hell out of me because it's like, no, I had everything planned, and it's like, nah, sorry, like that's a funny surprise. You need to go in that direction now. So it's just being welcome to those kinds of things.
Yeah. Did your project No Te Olvides change from the outline to the final piece? Like how much of it was
So
changed?
much. Like literally, I'm on like my fourth page one rewrite, and
Oh my
that's
God.
after it won a Blacklist Fellowship. That's after it placed in the nickel. That's after all that stuff, and I can already feel in my bones like I'm heading for rewrite number 5. Um, yeah, it's utter insanity how much rewriting there is, but I love it. I love it.
That's thing, and I'm taking that as an advice because I mentioned I'm working on this, memoir, and I'm so married to that idea, and I am that kind of person. What advice do you give to people who like are like, no, this is the thing that I want to create, and people are giving me different feedbacks. How much feedback do you say? Okay, I'll take that feedback. No, I'm not gonna take that feedback. How do you change that? I'm having a
Yeah,
hard
it's
time.
so hard because it's so funny. I was talking on Reddit of all places, our
Oh,
screenwriting. I was kind of talking about X, Y, and Z feedback, and I was like, "But this is my baby." And then someone just commented, "Then have another baby." And I was like, "All right." Like because as I'm a young, dumb, unproven screenwriter, and I can tell when I'm getting good feedback, and I love getting good feedback. I love it when someone pitches on my ideas because that means that I'm inspiring a good idea out of them. So whenever there's like alts or pitches that get sent my way, if it's from someone who I know and love and trust, then I'm going to take that pitch and I'm going to click delete on those 4 pages that I just spent 9 hours obsessively crafting perfectly. So there's that. And then I think you kind of have to go into a lot of these battles like knowing what you will and won't stand for. But it's almost like, I don't know, like best and final offer, but sometimes it's really not. And then sometimes you still have to like kill your darlings even more. So like I've had to throw out every darling of this story many times over. But again, it's one of those things where it's like in service of the movie.
Yeah.
Like I could have stuck to my grounds about a lot of things, but then I would not have gotten remotely as far. And so it's like, okay, I'm right, but I have no deadline article. You know what I mean? So it's like finding that balance and like making sure you're able to extrapolate the note behind the note every time. And sometimes it's like, oh, someone will pitch an idea, and I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Maybe there's, if we understand the problem more fundamentally and take a step back, then a lot of the times an even better idea can synthesize from the two of us. So
Exactly.
it's being open. It's just being open to those kinds of things and finding people that you trust who give truly good notes and alting alts. And it's just a crazy circle. But writing is rewriting, unfortunately.
How do you reconcile with disappointment when it's when somebody tells you the feedback that you were not really expecting?
I'm human. I don't know. Like,
It's getting
um,
emotional now, Neris.
yeah. No, it's fine. I had a really good mentor who told me this is not your art, it's your craft right now. And so right now, this is the craft that I'm doing. So if you're a craftsperson and you're building a table and they say, I want the table to be a different like shade or whatever, then you just say, okay, I'll make it a different shade. Even if you spent all this time making it that one shade. This is a bad metaphor, but a
Oh,
lot
that's
of the times
beautiful.
I'm learning it's not personal. It's just this is how it has to be. And I've just gotten really comfortable with like, okay, I'm gonna spend 8 hours on these 2 pages making them perfect, and it's probably gonna all go out the window. And it's been really hard. I am human. It's like my least favorite thing is wasting time because we have so little time on this planet, but it is through that process. Like, had I not written those bad pages, I would not have gotten the good pages. So it is just like a natural step of the process that I'm learning to embrace.
That's actually very beautiful. It's gonna get clipped, and we're making a clip of it. Neris, we are coming to the end of our conversation, but I really, want to just, thank you for the feedback that you have giving, the disruptors, being part of the disruptors. We are very proud of the work that you're doing, of the work that all of the fellows that have been part of this program.
Everyone is so cool. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone is so, so cool.
Yeah, and listen, again, we're taking that. We also have, it wasn't part of your year, but now we also have a feedback, workshop, how to give feedback. And so
Oh, that's great.
I think it's very important. Now that we're coming to the end of the end of our conversation, is there anything else that you're working on? We know you marry people. I
I'm
think it's
working on
important.
Sherman's.
It's important to have, things outside of your writing, be able to
Yeah.
get out of your writing. But is there any other project that you're currently
Yeah.
working on,
Yeah.
and would you like to share more about it?
Yeah, I just finished a page one rewrite of it's a I'll spare the whole pitch, but it's a story about underground nightlife in Tehran after the revolution of 1979. Um, I thought I kind of learned about how after the revolution of Iran, I'm half Iranian to be Nerris Nassiri, of course. So short of the long, I learned about how after everything kind of like got anti-Western and like, English this, English that was kind of like out the window. I learned about all these underground like clubs and speakeasies that people in Iran would have as like a way to kind of like dare to protest the regime. And I was like, there is something that is cool and like there's a dripping romantic queer story here that I really, really want to write. And I just finished like a draft of it. So I'm taking that out to my getting an obsessive amount of feedback from about 14 different people this next 2 weeks. And once that's done, I'm hoping to kind of like get that out to the world. So
Listen,
yeah,
the plethora of stories in our communities are there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you so much. Where can people find you, or if people want to get in touch with you?
Uh, uh, at Nerris Nassiri. Hello, hello Nerris at Gmail. Whatever. Like I'm easy to find.
You can find Nerris anywhere. Thank you so much, Nerris, for joining us today. And thank you, listeners and viewers, however you're watching this video, maybe on your phone. Please share this video with everyone and subscribe to our Center for Cultural Power YouTube page at The Culture Strike to see this and other videos from our organization. Thank you, Nerris, and thank you for watching.
Thanks,
Adios.
Leo.